Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our Weekend Warrior Club membership on Patreon is nearly full. There are only 10. That's right, only 10 spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone, and I'll be closing the club to any new members until 2026. At that point, you can try to join again, but it'll be at a higher rate. So get your rates locked in now, and you'll gain access to our 5 fishing tournaments each year for Patreon members only, 5% off your orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off your order to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off your orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. You'll gain access to our private Facebook group community, loads of members only content, and of course, ad-free, commercial-free episodes of the show. You get all this for $6 a month, which is less than a pack of Cincos or a jackhammer chatterbait. Lock in these rates now because in 2026, I'm going to be increasing the rate to new members. And again, I'll give you throw in an extra one here. I'll give you 8% off if you buy the membership for the year. So that'll be $66 for all of this value. There are only a few spots left, so hurry up and check out the link in the episode description. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Alrighty, cool. And 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today we're heading back to Northern Virginia with this team, Brian and Enzo. You guys basically just won the first tournament with the McCluskey Mulligan, we'll call it. You guys had an absolutely amazing day out on the water. Just really, as spring is here, and we're finally able to get outside.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that McCluskey, he's a sneaky feller. So
let's not forget Alex too. He's a stick too.
True.
But yeah, they're the team to beat.
They beat us by 0.01, which is basically like 3 grams.
Some fish
Good
line.
God. Did you guys think you had it won going into it with that kind of bag?
I knew last year it was like 32, 33 pounds won it. I knew it would be up there, but that field is loaded with really good teams. So
yeah, I thought we'd probably crack the top 5 maybe with it. Maybe top 3, but I didn't think we were going to win it or get close to winning it. Get second place loser.
Yeah. You ain't first, you're last.
I mean, I could argue probably the competition in these res tournaments is probably just as fierce, if not more so, than like the Potomac River stuff because of the sticks that fish that place. Like pound for pound, like that's a stacked field you guys go up against every week.
Yeah. I mean, third place was 29 pounds something. So, I mean, they were just right on our heels. So.
Yeah. And Dano got what, 26 pounds, I think? 26, 24. But I mean, that's still a good bag. But yeah, man, when you're competing against people who have like decades of knowledge and, you know, areas that kind of used to exist and now it doesn't, and they kind of fish history and, you know, now with the new technology, you can find new things and find these little spots and these get put in time, but those guys are great.
How do you practice for a fishery that you have seen so many times? If people don't know, with the res tournaments, there's like 12 to 16 a year. You've seen it a couple of times. It's not a 100,000 acre place like bugs. So does practice even help at some point when, you know, you probably have all your waypoints, you have everything dialed? Like, what is practice used for? Just to check up on things?
Yeah. Check certain sections of the lake. I mean, the res is so versatile because you have so many different habitats there. So, you know, there's cranking, ledge fishing. If you want to fish timbers, there's that. There's grass. You know, there is current. So when it rains after a few days, there is a nice current scene. But like, you pattern fish essentially.
I mean, this time of year, you know, you don't know what they're doing at this point. Like, are they coming out of their winter haunts and are they moving up shallow? Are they staying out deep? And they kind of moved up shallow for us. And Enzo, thankfully, he found a good group of fish. And thankfully, we got boat number 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was cool.
That was the thing. We got so lucky with our boat number and we hauled ass. And the third place team they were coming in hot on us because we eventually came to the same spot, but they were coming in really hot behind us.
We watched them all day catching fish.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they caught another one. Oh, God. So, they probably were saying the same thing about us too. So
About 60 pounds came from that section of the lake.
God damn. Wow. Oh, Lord, that's impressive. Like, do you think, compare and contrast, like last winter, it was like 60 degrees, it felt like all year. And this year, like the Susquehanna River froze solid. It was so freaking cold. Do you think that's making the spring bite? Is it making each stage of it very defined, like early pre-spawn, and spawn?
I don't know, man. I think with the new technology, like we went out a bunch this winter and it was amazing what we saw, in high 30-degree waters. We had fish doing pirouettes, they were so, you always think they're slow and lethargic, but
Mm-hmm.
we saw some crazy shit. So it's like, I don't know. I think,
I remember going down with Matt McCluskey down to Briery, and he caught something like a 4.5, some little small fish, and so he was bringing it up, and then he said the bigger one's right behind it, and so he said cast over there. I'm like, ooh. And I cast there, and we watched it like a 6.5 pounder come up and just annihilate my Damiki. It was unbelievable that how active these fish are, especially on forward facing sonar. You can see stuff that you've never seen before.
That's the coolest thing about it. I think it gets so much hate, but on the flip side, the fish behavior thing, like seeing smallmouth in like almost like frozen water up where I'm at, and they'll come off the bottom really quick. And it's like, okay, Bassmaster told me back in the 90s, y'all are just on the bottom, like doing nothing, but you're busting bait.
I'm a nerd when it comes to like biology and just like, I've always kept fish as a hobby. So when it comes to angling, I'm always like super interested in the biology of a fish. And it's just amazing to see like what you were always taught, like reading magazines or blogs, and then actually going out and seeing it. And you're like, that kind of rewrites everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of being a nerd, it's like, you're always kind of curious to see what can trigger them even more. And you're like, this is completely different from what I thought they did.
But forward facing sonar is not the end all be all. I mean, they're not jumping in your boat. I mean, you still got them. And Enzo's done a great job of learning it and actually excelling at it within the last year. And since we've been fishing together, and because there was one guy at the ramp, and he said, "Hey, you're the guys that caught 30 pounds." Like, yeah. And he said, "How'd you catch him?" I was like, "Well, we the top 3 teams were using forward facing sonar." He said, "Well, I got that," and I'm like, "Okay, well, just spend some more time and learn it."
Yeah,
and he's like, "I just couldn't control the boat and like look at the fish and look at my bait. That's hard." And I'm like, "It is, but you just got to be better at it, and more seat time you have, the better you become at it."
What was your hardest learning curve? Mine was analysis paralysis with it, of if you see fish, how much time you give them before you just move on. It's almost like bed fishing almost, where you might spend too much time on a couple of blobs. That was probably my biggest learning curve. It's okay to leave just because you see fish, because spoiler, you'll see them everywhere.
Yeah. I got introduced to it because I was fishing with like, Strykel, McCluskey, Alex, and fishing with McCluskey. He's fishing fast, so I kind of got used to fishing fast. Like, all right, if you cast twice, they're not going to move on. Let's go find the other ones that are going to react. Then when I hooked up with Brian, I feel like he would get tunnel vision and like follow that fish and do it. And like, I'm like, we got to move on. We got to move on. And obviously, like being a brand new team, it's like we have to figure out our dynamic and chemistry together. And it's like, am I the dude in the back of the boat, nagging him like, let's go, man, let's go. Like they're not biting. I think that's like the learning curve. It's just understanding when they're going to go, when it's, it's just having that internal clock. Like, all right, we're wasting too much time in the spot. Let's go find.
I agree, but I think I fish pretty fast too.
You do.
I do the seek and destroy method.
Seek and destroy.
I'll go find a fish. I'll have my trolling motor on 60 to 80, whatever percent, and I'll see a fish, throw it to them, and not bite, and go to the next one because there's plenty of them out there. And but like Enzo found a group of fish that were just staying in the same place. And so for that, I mean, we stayed in about the same 200 to 400 meter area the whole day for the most part. And then the last couple hours, we tried to find some stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we went through a lull though. I mean, I think we had 25 or 26 pounds in the first hour and a half, or
damn
2 hours, whatever. And then we knew that we had something special going on, and we just kept on staying there. And eventually we'd hit a bigger fish, and that would call up a couple ounces here and there. And then I think the key fish was the 604 that we caught just after midday. That really kind of sealed the deal. And that brought us up to over 30 pounds. And then after that, I don't think we called up any time after that for the next 3 hours, three and a half hours.
Yeah, we moved spots trying to make something happen, and then the water clarity wasn't as good as the original spots that we were. And then we just kind of spun around.
Is that because you moved spots, or there was a weather change, like it started raining, or just water got pushed into the area?
Yeah, they were calling for heavy rain, like thunderstorms around 1 o'clock. But at 1, it started drizzling, and that's when it kind of fizzled out, like 12:31. And then we left the spot around 2 because the weigh-in's at 4. So we're like, all right, let's go and spend the next 2 hours somewhere new. And it just wasn't the same air, the same setup. Water clarity was a little more dingier. We weren't finding the right spots that we were in the beginning. But it was one of those things where like it could pay off in the end, making big changes like that, but it just didn't.
Because in practice, he had found a couple different areas, and so that's what we started hitting for the last couple hours, thinking that we might get a nice kicker fish. But I mean, at that point, we had like 30 pounds, or whatever. But it's still been nice to get another, 6 pound plus fish.
I think our smallest was a 401.
That was number 7.
That was number 7.
That was our 7th fish. That was
a 4-pounder was our smallest, and
yeah,
like when you're calling 3.5 pounders, you're like, oh man, on a regular tournament, this would be crazy.
Pretty good day.
So the 7th fish was 404, which was one of my fish, right? And then I had another one, which was a 478, which was in the mix. So I weighed in one fish in our bag. Enzo just schwacked him, and it was funny. Here's a story, because like Saturday night after we got back from Potomac teams, and my other team partner, Alex Porowski, who you've had on the program, we failed miserably, and McCrusty got second place with his partner, Chris Siliberti. And so we were sitting around rigging up, and I'm like, Enzo, what do I need to rig up? He said, well, you need to rig up this. I'll rig up this because I'll be on the back. And I said, the hell you won't. I said, you're going to be on the front. So I made a command decision to put Enzo on the front of my boat. And it was tough, I got to tell you, because I like being on the front of my boat, but you can't argue with success. I mean, like catching 2 like nearly 7-pounders that week, and then also getting a 30 and a half pound bag in practice by himself. And I was like, you got the hot hand, dude. And so the times that he allowed me on the front of my own boat, I was able to actually catch a few fish. I think I caught 5 or 6 fish the whole day, but he probably caught 15, 20 fish. I don't know. He put on a clinic.
It was a fun day. It was a really fun day.
Brian, what do you like to fish more than the Potomac or the Res?
The Res.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the potential of getting a big fish. I just really love fishing the Res now. I'm kind of, I don't know. I mean, the river is pretty good when they're on a swim jig bite or a chatterbait bite. I really enjoy that, So
a day that ends in Y on the Potomac.
Yeah. But like Saturday was rough for us. But normally we're competing for top 3, in that some region there. And to finish with 3 fish for 7 pounds was really kind of humbling. on Saturday.
It was tough. Those early spring ones, plus the weather situation there, because you could probably flip a coin on whether it's going to be a small craft advisory, which is just so much fun to go out in on that place.
And also the problem was like we didn't get Alex. He's a new father, and so he doesn't get a lot of time out on the river like he used to. And I got a new job where I actually have to work now and be in the office 5 days a week, and so I didn't get any time to get out on the river. Neither did he. So we just kind of winged it. We fished history, and history kind of let us down.
Interesting. Why do you think history lets you down? Let me rephrase that question. Is it wise to rely on history, or is it better to kind of like just flush it and always just treat it like a new body of water?
I think that it's wise to flush it and then treat it like a new body of water, but like you got to get the time out there to practice. So,
yeah,
and to confirm or deny those areas, because the Potomac, it changes from year to year with grass, and is there grass in a certain spot? Is there no grass in a certain spot? And so, with Alex winning that BFL last year, I think you interviewed him last year once he won BFL. It was an area that he and I had a lot of good success early on in the pre-spawn. And unfortunately, I had Dave Williams on the back of my boat, so I couldn't show him kind of our juice. But we went to that juice, and it just wasn't juicy this year. So something has changed. I don't know what it is, but I wish that we had a little bit of time on the river so that we could find some fish.
Do you feel like the grass? I mean, it's pretty early to tell. Do you think the grass is going to be coming in well, or do you think it's still just slowly dying off in the river as a whole?
I think it's going to come in really good this year.
All right, good.
There's areas that like have really good grass, and that I've not seen this early having grass. So
that's good. Yeah, because I remember last year was this big scare that like it just seems like it's slowly creeping down that grass line from DC down. So it's good that there's still some in the place. Are you thinking about fishing the BFLs or just expanding outside of Res in the Potomac?
Me? Yeah. Well, I'm actually not going to fish the BFLs this year, I don't think. I'm going to fish the BFLs on the river. I'm thinking about jumping in the Toyota Series Northern Division this year. I think as a co-angler, though. I just don't have a lot of time off. I just started a new job. So so I think I might jump in as Matt's co-angler link. I don't know. We'll see. We were talking about that, but it's a lot of travel, and you pretty much have to get top 3 if you really want to do something and like pay back your expenses. Because I mean, like, let's say this coming up next weekend is Smith Mountain Lake. It's 3.5 hours. And then you're putting in all that time and your diesel in your truck. I have a big 350, and and then also your time practicing. You got to take off time from work. You're spending a lot of money in your boat for gas, and then you got the entries, and all of a sudden it becomes really expensive. And you gotta be in that top 3 to really make anything work, I think. So
it's depressing, but it's true. BFLs just aren't what they used to be. Honestly, it's something to be allured to. And there's so many local series you could do. I know you guys both fished Lake Anna this year a little bit as well. And yeah, there's just a ton of events locally that you can just hop into. So
yeah. So we fished the winter series together and did okay. I mean, I think we averaged 14.5 pounds, but it's hard to compete against Tyler Highpole and Timmy Sheridan and Eric Johnson and his team, Nate Sullivan. It's just there are good sticks out there. But we went out there and
what was our best finish?
23 a second, I think.
That's not bad.
We got second with 23.5 1 week, and then we got 5th with 23.5.
Yeah, there was 1 week that was just absolutely insane.
It was insane. I mean, like Sixth place was 23.5. I beat my buddy Alex, or we beat Alex and Rob Drake by 1/100th of a pound. And I think that was kind of payback with this past week.
Right.
Because we got beat by 1/100th of a pound. So I was happy that we beat them, even though we got fifth and we didn't cash a check, and then so I can understand like how Matt feels.
That fishery is amazing. I mean, that was like my first full year fishing it. I really enjoyed it. Just it's a little bit more. It's different habitat than your res or your Potomac River, and I feel like it just kind of made me a better angler, just targeting differently. Because normally in the res, I don't target anything over 25 feet. And Anna, you're targeting 40 feet, 30 feet down. So
that week that we got 23.5, SB fishing, Matt Streichel wasn't fishing it, but
that makes sense.
I was fishing. We were fishing the same spot, and then that next week that he
got that mega bag.
Got that mega bag. That was our first stop, and my hot foot froze, so I couldn't get up on plane. I knew I could outrun them, and they ended up, and we fished in the same creek, and you could see us in the video like screaming by on the way out, and we were on a zero, and I think at that point in the video, because he was live streaming it, I think they had like 18 or 19 pounds, and you could see us in the background like zooming out of that creek, and I'm like, good God, I couldn't believe he beat us to that spot. But
what makes that place so hard? Because it really feels like a feast or famine. You can either catch 38 pounds or you can blank there.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that place is harder? And this is kind of a biased question, but is it harder than the res? Because it seems like it's a lot easier to blank at Lake Anna than it is to blank at the res.
I think that actually, and Matt agrees with me. Like, I think that those fish on Anna, they don't really act right. The ones at the res act a little bit more right. Like they'll chase your Damiki and your jerk bait, whereas at Anna, they'll sometimes. I mean, a lot of times they won't even react or chase your baits.
Yeah, they'll nose it or they'll bite the tail of your Damiki, and you think you feel some resistance, and you reel into it, and then it just kind of pops out. They're very finicky eaters. Even like they're in the jerk bait, it doesn't make them go crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas on the res, they kind of go crazy.
Yeah, they go crazy.
I wonder if that's because of the forage or the water clarity. Like, I mean, the Lake Anna can be clear, but it also can have a little bit of a stain to it. So I don't think that. So it has to be because of like the bluebacks in there that got them all funky. Like, I don't know.
Probably
That
too much forage, and they're not going to eat the artificial stuff. I have no idea.
But there's a ton of forage in the res too. That place is loaded with it, and it doesn't have striper, right? So the res doesn't even have like all the predators like Anna does.
Nope.
Yeah, it's weird.
We had a heck of a winter. We not only did we fish the winter series at Lake Anna, we also fished a lot of different fisheries. And we fished Lunga, we fished Mooney, we went to Lake Priory. And so we're just experimenting a little bit and honing in the whole forward-facing sonar, because it's what you do in those lakes, especially in the winter. And
we even went out to Riverton, but it just wasn't the same Riverton that I knew. We just hit the wrong time of year.
So it's funny. We went to Riverton, and he's like talking it up the whole way.
It's so fun. It's so fun when it's on.
This is on. It's on. And like we went out there, and I'm just sitting back, and I'm like, I'm sitting in my butt seat in the back of my boat. He's like on the front trying to catch fish. I'm like, this sucks. And we've been there for like 5.5 hours. And at that point, I think we caught one that was 1.5 pounds or something. And I'm like, dude, we need to go. And so we left, and I said, let's go to Lake Frederick. He didn't know how close Frederick was. And so we hopped over to Frederick in 2 hours. I think we had 17.5 or 18 pounds. It was all, it was just like, doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
That's a place where scope helped a lot because you think Frederick before scope and everyone's like, just fill this bitch in. Like, it sucks, except for 2 weeks out of the year, it's terrible. And then you scope it, you're like, oh, there's all out in the middle.
A lot of grass carp too. That was the first time I've ever saw like grass carp on the forward facing sonar. I was like, what the hell is that glimmery shit?
Oh my God.
Like, what is that? It just like glimmers.
And that's the biggest thing with forward facing sonar. If you're starting out, you want to cast at everything, you know, because my God, the fish. No, it was bait, or no, it's a carp. It's too big. I got a too big story for you. So our last event in the winter series, we went to this one brush pile right outside of Sturgeon, and we saw this big mark, and I'd never seen a mark that big before. And I'm like, dude, I said, that's a carp or catfish.
I'm like, let me cast that.
Let me cast to it. And he got it. And that thing shot up and annihilated his jerk bait. And he's like, get the net. And I went back to get the net. And it came up, went down, and then it started coming back up, and it got off. It was all of 8 pounds. I mean, it had to have been. That's the biggest mark I've ever seen on forward facing sonar. That was a bass. So it won't help us. We would have came in third. I think. Yeah. But anyways, it was just like, good God. He was talking about that for weeks. So
how did you guys meet?
Funny enough, I was actually fishing with another buddy of mine, Brian Looney, and I was in the back of his boat in Neabsco, and I think Brian was running down in Neabsco, and we just kind of just shot the shit, talk like that, and he was like, yeah, I live like right across ORP, I'm a local, blah blah, and I think he wanted to. I think Brian and Brian, they hooked up because Brian was trying to sell the bass boat to Looney. So yeah, I mean, that was like the first time I met you.
That's the first time I met you, but then I was looking for a partner because I did this John boat build that we're talking on right now, and Matt suggested I contact Enzo, so I did.
Yeah, because 3 or 4 years ago, I was a ringer on the res. So like, whenever McCluskey wasn't fishing or anyone else, like I would kind of hop in. And then 2 years ago, it was the same deal. I was like fishing with a bunch of people. He fished, I think 3 with Silberti.
Yeah.
And then they didn't fish the rest. And then like last year, he was like, I don't have a partner. I was like, cool, I don't have a partner. Let's do this. So last year was our first full year.
And Chris was going to potentially call you to team up, and then I guess I beat him to the punch. Yeah. So we teamed up, but like I tell you, we didn't cash a check together last year. And
the only time the team cashed a check was he was in the Philippines for, I don't know, summer for work, and I actually fished it with Trevor Bryan and Trevor Bryan, and we came in second that day. But like that was just a crazy spoon bite, just I think it was July or August. It was super fucking hot, like 97 degrees. It was just that spoon bite. It was just a really, really awesome day.
It's crazy how those techniques go in waves. Except if you have a chatterbait on the Potomac, that thing apparently will never die. But for the rest of the world, it's weird how like you have these bobs and weaves. It's like, I don't know, maybe they are more intelligent than we give them props for. I know smallmouth are.
What's crazy about last Sunday was I was off the back of the boat most of the day, and I was throwing those typical baits, spinnerbait, chatterbait, crankbait, and drop shot, wacky Senko. I mean, I threw that consistently, thinking I'll just pick up something rando fish, and I didn't. And forward facing sonar really got us the win. So it's amazing how that didn't work, and because I was thinking for sure I'll pick up 2 or 3 fish this way, and I never did, which is weird.
And real quick, how many more weeks is this going to air?
Well, I got 8 episodes I haven't released yet, so
so
probably April.
It was crazy because like we were throwing the minnow and nothing, but you threw the jerk bait and it was just like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge difference. Like you think, okay, chatterbait, spinnerbait, fishing shallow, a swim jig. It was all jerkbait. And then, you would throw the minnow at it and they did not want it.
They
just,
didn't.
they,
And then just like yesterday, we went on practice. They did not want a Demiki.
yeah.
Do you think like if you had to like rate them very high level, the Demiki is definitely more of a cold water, like super lethargic fish, and the jerkbait's going to be more of they're aggressive on a scaling?
I would think Demiki's better for fish that are below 15 feet and a little bit more active. It really depends on your ounce head, on your jig head, the weight of it. But I feel like the jerkbait is a little bit more like to wake them up when they're super lazy, to wake them up and get that response. I don't know. I mean, what are your?
I'm Demiki boy, so I love Demiki all the time, and I'm crappie boy too because I love.
Oh, dude, that's a massive crappie.
I either get crappies, whatever, but I throw Demiki a lot, and I'll throw it all the way from probably October through March, April. But yeah, I've done really well in Demiki. I think we had our interview at the Hillendale thing and saying about the Demiki rod. I tell you that that rod that I built another one of those this year because I broke the other one. But I got an 8.6, an 8, 7.5, lots of high sixes, tons of fives, all in the Demiki. And so Demiki has been very successful for me over the winter. But it's coupled with the forward-facing sonar, of course. So we all we're like, oh, well, we need to get back to like throwing a swim jig or a chatterbait. And I really enjoy that too. I mean, I enjoy going on the river doing that, but I really do enjoy forward-facing sonar as well and throwing that Demiki.
Do you think there's going to be I wouldn't know this, but when the spawn happens, like, are there a considerable amount of anglers that can win super shallow, or is it still just always a forward-facing sonar deal?
No, like when they're shallow, I mean, that was like my favorite time of the year because, last year I was fishing the back of the boat for the entirety. And that 2 or 3 tournaments, it was just like we put it on 6, throwing them on 6 or 8, and
wow.
we were just throwing spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, square bills. Just
it's pretty good.
It was fun.
Like we're trying to strategize for the next event. The next event's in a week and a half from now, and so a week and a half from now, it might be totally different from what we experienced on Sunday, and so they might be pushed up shallow and hitting that spinnerbait and chatterbait and crankbait, and we thought, I thought potentially that's kind of was going to produce a couple fish this past weekend, but it did not. So they're not at that stage yet. They're kind of like they're staging up shallow, or they're starting to get a little bit shallow meaning 10 to 15 feet, but they're not up there really shallow yet. So the jerkbait was key.
I think we need to wait for like that 50 to 55 degree water because the water we were fishing was 47, and I actually plucked one out of the grass, like that was actually on the grass line. I just kind of pitched the jerkbait there and he shot out of the grass line. But it was just crazy because like even I threw the chatterbait and the spinnerbait on the grass line and nothing. But as soon as the water temperature gets to 55, I feel like that's going to be the deal.
I mean, I still did. I did get one on Demiki, the 478, and it was like 35, 40 foot of water.
I call him the specialist because he's so good at Demikiing. Like so, I was in the front of the boat. I was like,
he allowed me on the front for a second, and then I casted like 4 times. I chased that fish, and then finally it reacted. So,
what makes a good Demiki angler? Is it just you're good at wiggling your finger and wrist, or like what makes it such a deadly technique for you?
Just really zooming in and making sure you got the accuracy and having that accurate cast. That's what, I mean, you got to get it right in front of their face, especially now. I mean, if the water is slightly stained, you got to get it right in front of their face. So,
but he's good at leading them too.
with Garmin, it's a little bit wider beam angle than the Active Target 2. So with the Garmin, I'm moving it left and right, just to get that best return. And once I get the best return, I look down at my transducer because my arrow's not in line with my transducer, and I get that most accurate cast. And what I do know is I know what it's a 30, 40, 50, 60 yard cast. So what you try to do is you try to get it to them as quickly as possible. And in order to do that, you can't overcast or undercast. You got to kind of get it a little bit past them, but not too far past them. And if you do get it too far past them, then you reel. You see your bait, on the screen, and then you let it fall. But you want to make it fall almost intersect them. It's just you want to make it sure your bait's intersecting the mark. But basically, you really got to fine tune of where exactly you got to cast and make that cast. So, and if you're off, don't even worry. Just reel it up, fire it off again. So if you're off, you can't force it. You can't force it oh, it's close enough. In some clear water fisheries, that might be good enough. But if you got slight stain, you got to get it really close to these fish. And if they're moving, you got to kind of lead them and figure out where they're moving, if they're moving left or right or forward or aft. And so that just takes seed time and understanding what you're looking at on the screen.
But forward facing sonar is easy. Remember, it's cheating.
Oh, it's
super easy.
That's the biggest thing is wind, boat positioning, casting angle. He taught me, he was if the wind's blowing, make that cast, position that boat, and then re-lock onto it. And it's a learning curve for sure. Just today, I was talking to some dude who we met at the ramp, and he actually sent me a message. He was like, "So how'd you guys do?" And we caught 24 pounds yesterday.
Yeah, 24, 25, somewhere around.
Yeah,
or 6.
And he was like, "What? I only caught 2." And he was by himself. And he's like, "Can you go out with me and teach me forward facing?" And I was like, "Well, how do you suck at it? Is it are you not understanding what you're seeing?" And he was like, "No, I just can't keep track of my bait." So then the next question I was like, "Is it Garmin or Lowrance?" Because Lowrance has such a narrow beam that you have to be spot on to it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But as I talk to a lot of people, especially the older heads, they just don't understand what they're seeing.
This is like teaching your grandpa how to play Zelda. I mean, it's the same damn thing. And they keep hitting the X button. It's no, you got to use both freaking toggles to move forward. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, PTSD, but it's the same damn thing.
How do I Facebook?
Well,
what's my password?
I mean,
my TV won't turn on.
We're like Enzo when we first got together last year. He was just keeping the beam on the fish. Meanwhile, we're getting blown halfway across the lake. You gotta understand where the wind. You gotta look at the wind, see the wind, counteract it. But you also have to scroll back to your fish and the bait going down, and you gotta stay in that trolling motor. Boat controls number 1. 2 is knowing where your bait and the fish are, and so it's an art. It's totally an art, but you got to control that boat. Otherwise, you might be blowing halfway across the lake, and now your bait's just getting out of the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's learning when to get rid of the old knowledge and just kind of being in the moment of, okay, this might be the best position for the fish, but I can't control the boat. So get yourself in the best position so you can actually see the damn fish and cast to it, even though that might be counterintuitive. I've done that before. I've gotten the wrong side of the point, but I powered pulled down and chop. So I didn't break my ankle trying to keep everything steady. You just got to kind of evolve with the technology, so to speak, and tactics.
Yeah. And then also another tip is if you're forward facing downwind, let's say the wind's to your back, that's tough. Because then all of a sudden, you're going to go past a fish, especially if you're in the seek and destroy mode. But if you go upwind, wind's to your face, way easier to target those fish, go a little bit slower. And that's just a good tip.
Because you can thrust it to spot lock you, sort of, just tap it to thrust you to keep you in that
Yeah.
that one spot.
Especially in a john boat. The john boat, you're
Man.
getting weather vaned a lot. You know, like your back end might be slipping out or your front end. And so it's pretty tough, especially if you're going with the wind. It's not good. I think that you got to go into the wind, and then you have a lot more control.
Where did you build this boat yourself, or did you go send it to somebody to get it all pimped out?
No, built it myself. So Carl Martin, who you just mentioned.
Oh, no.
Let me move this beer to my mouth.
Yeah, it's a family friendly episode.
Carl Martin sold me
That's
this boat,
sick.
and he gave me a hell of a deal. And so what I did was I took off the trolling motor and took off the graphs. He had some 9-inch TI and a 7-inch TI and a 70-pound thrust, I think, trolling motor. So I sold off those things. And then I had a spare 112 thrust Minn Kota Vortex. So I slapped that on there. And then I had, I'm running right now 5 lithiums. So I got 3 lithium 12 volts for my 36 volt system for the Vortex. And then I've got a 100 amp hour lithium for my electronics. And then I got another 12 volt lithium for the live well and accessories. So, but I got it and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And Rob Greig helped me a lot with the whole build. Of course, the carpet job was all Rob because he's a carpet guy. Well, he said, you need to build a doghouse, which is the front deck, which is basically a 90-degree bend of I used probably in hindsight, I used too thick of aluminum because it's pretty heavy. I think it was 3/8 of an inch thick aluminum, but it's a 90-degree bend. And then it's attached with little tabs on the bottom as well as the front deck. So I extended the front deck. And then the back deck, I had some leftover aluminum, and I built that myself. But I had the front deck thing custom made. I think it cost me $600, but I think it was money well spent. And it's just a solid build. The unfortunate thing is Enzo and I we're bigger guys, so weight is critical, and the tracker itself is a little heavier, and so getting up on plane once you have a 30-pound bag and 15 gallons of water in your live well is like almost impossible. We didn't get on plane going back.
Yeah,
but
That's a good problem to have.
yeah, for the most part though, we can generally get on plane, and I've played with props, but we're running a 9-pitch prop, which is about the lowest you can find. And we still have problems getting on plane, but we'll run like 22, 23 miles an hour.
No, with this 9.9, we get like 18.
Yeah, 9.9. Yeah.
Now we get like 23. 23.
Mm.
So,
but yeah, so I take my graphs, my front graph, my back graph off my Phoenix. And so I've got all the connections, whatever, on the John boat. And so I just saved a little money that way. I had a spare trolling motor. I had spare lithiums. So I kind of built it on the cheap. I think when all is said and done, I was $8,000 into it. But had I had to buy all this other stuff to build it, I would have been $12,500 into it.
That's still not bad. That's under 20, I guess. So, yeah. Bright side.
I don't have a hydraulic jack plate and trim like Rob Greig does, but that's next.
but he's like really learned to love this thing because he's like, man, I could never take the Phoenix here. He's like, he's like super thankful that he actually built it.
I have got, I'm looking at it right now. I've got 82 hours on this boat.
Damn.
Since last December.
Is this what you took to Mooney, Nye, places like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And what's awesome is Enzo's got a Tacoma, and it totally hauls this thing. And so, like, a lot of our trips, he just backs up to my garage door, hooks it up, and goes. And like, he's got a good job where he can work in alternate locations, and so he'll say,
The way
"Hey,
God intended.
is the boat ready, or can I take the boat?" I'm like, "Yeah, be my guest." So I just let him borrow the boat whenever he wants.
Oh, yeah. And you probably save some money when you're not driving that tank around. I have a 350 dually for my wife's trailer, and that thing drinks fuel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, the last thing I wanted to really hit with you guys is, do you think the state record crappie is going to come out of the res? Or do you think it's going to come out of Bugs Island?
Yeah. I mean, what was that one that came out of Bugs Island?
The one McCluskey caught and threw back was almost 4, but that was a white. I don't even know if it's still in there. That was from a year and a half ago,
Yeah,
I think.
that thing was giant.
I mean,
I want to say he's caught at least 4 like 3,600 Plano box. Like
Good
easily
God.
can, you know,
I've caught quite a few that were pushing 3 pounds on the res. High 2s.
That's stupid.
Yeah. So, but they schwack a Demiki. Yeah, it's like even 4.5. I've gotten them on 4.5-inch Demiki with a Crush City, whatever it's called, freeloader. Yeah.
It's odd. I don't know how it is like in other fisheries, but like sometimes in certain times of the year on the res, you'll be on a point and you're like, oh, that like there's a sole fish, like that's like prime for the picking Demiki bass, right? And you cast at it and it's a giant crappie. Always because like normally crappie they kind of stack vertically and you can kind of identify the crappie piles. This was like lone wolf
roamers,
just roamer on a point, and we're like, that's a bass for sure.
And
just
so
huge return.
So whenever we see a bass on the live scope, what do? Do it.
Gay?
No. When we see a bass or something like a good mark on live scope, we start going, ooh, ooh,
oh yeah,
you know. So like a lot of these crappies, we're going, ooh, and you cast to them, you're like, oh shit, I got a good one. And then you bring it up, and it's just like this massive crappie. You're like, no way. I thought for sure it was a bass.
Ever since I started this year covering more of the crappie tournaments, like it's crazy how like the big ones lone wolf it, and you're just hunting for one stupid blob on the screen.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, like the guys that just had the record at a Kerr, I think it was like 17 pounds for their crappie limit. There's a shit ton of big crappie.
For 5?
For 7.
Oh, 7. Okay. That's
So it's big. It's big. And they lost one that was 4 pounds. They said they broke off. It's the fact that they're hunting and you have to like look for them because they separate out. They don't like to be with the pile and everything. it's neat. But that's where like I think the forward facing sonar technology, the electric braits, all that stuff comes from the crappie world and how they do it, which is they're really good with that shit. It's crazy.
That's fascinating.
That's
a whole breaks. I'm not well versed in.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like I really want to get into like some of this other kind of fishing too. Crappie come to mind. Just target snakehead for fun, actually, for a change, and not in a bass tournament. There's just a lot of cool things that forward-facing sonar can open up for you now. I have some friends that will do it for speckled trout. They said they whack the shit out of them in canals and stuff. Yeah, because they're really stupid. And once you just show it, once you shine it on them and you throw the bait, you'll hook up immediately.
It's amazing what you find with forward-facing sonar. I mean, because like we found something on the res that's in the middle, the middle of the lake, and it looks like a building, like a building wall with windows and everything. I mean, it's like 30, 40 foot tall.
It has to be some historical mill. Like, I don't know, like the nerd in me, I'm like, what historical building is this that just got lost forever in 30 feet of water?
And even Matt didn't know about it. So we kind of felt special when we found it. So
I can believe it.
But it's tricky. You can see the 4 sides, you can see the windows, you can see, the shingles, like the roof and the door. It's pretty trippy.
That is really trippy. Well, yeah, it's just, even especially if like you put that in perspective mode to get the whole layout of it, it's eerie how good the technology is, especially if you were doing search and rescue looking for dead bodies and stuff. Like it's eerie how good that technology is getting for that.
Yeah, like even on Lake Anna, there's a point that we fish and I thought it was a brush pile or something before I had forward facing sonar. And then when I had forward facing sonar, it's a sunken boat down there. I mean, it's clear as day. And I'm like, that was a brush pile. So it's amazing.
Dude found a car in Frederick this past winter. I think it was a Jason Church. I forget who it was.
Is there a dead body?
They didn't find a dead body. But son of a bitch. He sent me a screenshot. It is a car. And he's not perspective mode, and you shine it. It's just, again, wild the detail that you get with that stuff.
Yeah. There's a kayak dude that, I don't know, it's like one of those dudes that like sends you a friend request because you have a fish on your profile picture. His name was Brian. I want to say that's his name. He fished Beaver Dam Reservoir. He's a kayak dude. But this was like 5 years ago.
Bass hunter?
No, it wasn't Bass Hunter. It was he had a kid and he kind of stopped posting.
That narrows it down.
Yeah. But this was like 5 years ago when like forward facing sonar was coming out and like the whole, and he had a picture out of Burke Lake of like literally just a muskie on the bottom floor, and like you could see it clear as day, like the body of just the muskie. And it was just like the first time ever seeing something so clear. I was like, what is this technology? It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to see like for all the pros and the cons of it, because it's not as easy as going out there and just dinking and dunking. I know McCluskey and SB make it look easy like that, but there's a lot of information to get through. There is. And it's also knowing when to shut it off and ignore it and just, go beat the bank and go do other things, especially when it gets finicky like it can.
That's it. I mean, like a lot of times it can be a detriment because you're sitting there just trying to like make these fish do what you want them to do. And you just got to realize when that point is. And then just go beat the bank or whatever you need to do. But, I started freaking out one time when we didn't have a forward-facing sonar. And then I think we went out fishing and we just caught fish. And it was nice, but like you don't need it to be successful. But it sure does help if you know how to use the technology.
What do you guys got coming up this year? Got anything exciting besides the tournaments? You going to go anywhere? The Philippines again?
No, I got a new job. Now I go nowhere. I go to my cubicle. So I don't know this year, like I said, I might do the Toyota series. I don't know if I'm going to do it as a co-angler or a boater. But I'm not planning on going anywhere pretty much. I might go home a couple times in Minnesota and see my parents. New York twice. I plan on going to New York at least 3 times. I might go to the New York trip in May.
Dude, you're going a shit ton of places. What are you talking about?
So, I mean, nothing really too special. I know next weekend or coming up Saturday, we have we're going to jump in the electric only tournament. So I had to do all the calculations with all my batteries. So I think I'm going to have an extra 36 volt battery in there just in case we need to make some runs. But a lot of these guys are running torpedoes and like
they smoke.
They're going really fast.
Yeah.
So like going even to the back of Sandy, that's 2 miles. 2 miles on 100% will drain about a quarter of my 100 amp hours. And so you had to do all the calculations,
Is that where it's at, Sandy?
It's out of Lake Ridge.
Oh, it's on the res. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the res. Yeah.
Okay.
But like they fish like Lake Pelham, and they're gonna do like 2 out of Willow's Landing.
Pelham.
Yeah,
it's called Culpeper. Whatever it's like Culpeper.
Pelham.
So
there's so many lakes like that.
You got to figure out what your endurance level is based on your batteries, which was interesting because I was like, wow, we just go down to where we caught the big bag at, whatever, and we can't make it there and back.
It'll take us an hour to get there, according to his calculations.
Is it illegal if you put a small generator in the boat and plug the electric motor into it? Because technically, it's like hooking a Tesla up to like a plug. So I guess it's.
Oh no. Do I need to go buy a small generator? I've been meaning to buy one. This might give me a good excuse to buy one.
I'm just saying. I mean, that might be a loophole there. Yeah, dude. There's so many electric motor only lakes in this country. I mean, in this state. I remember when I did that tier list, I was like, holy shit. There's so many lakes that are sub like 900 acres. Damascus, Little Creek. Like it's insane. But if you have a Phoenix or a Ranger, man, you just can't enjoy them. You have to get a custom boat to really like kind of enjoy them. The Norfolk Lakes, you know.
Oh, I've heard awesome things about that. But McCluskey has talked about that whole peninsula, like Norfolk, Suffolk area. That's a cool area down there. Like as soon as you get to the cypress tree areas, like coming from Northern Virginia, I've never seen anything like that. Fishing cypress trees.
Yeah, and Hunter said there's one of those lakes down in that area that like they're catching 4-pound spots. I'm trying to remember what the hell it is. Damascus? I got it. Hold on. Let me Google this thing real quick. What the hell's the name of this thing? I thought it was Damascus.
Any of John Odenkirk's list were down there?
Oh, yeah. A bunch of them. You got, of course, you got Sandy, you got Briery in that area. You got, I think it's called Little Seneca. Why am I blanking on that? This is why. Hold on. Focus here for 5 seconds on the damn screen. There we go. There we go. It's the James area. It is called Diaskid. Diaskid? Yeah, Diaskid Reservoir. That one is on the list. And then you have Little Creek Reservoir, which is gin clear, apparently. That one's like uber clear.
But Dyson, isn't it like...
Dyson.
Isn't that like near Chick Lake?
Yeah, Chick is good. Chick is also good. It goes in bobs and fits. I'm trying to think of that other one. There's another one that's really, really good. I mean, Leesville, apparently no one fishes it. I had Billy Coles on and he talked about it off air. It's like, yeah, the problem is there's just so many floaters. I'm getting a guy on eventually to talk about it, but yeah, apparently that place is pumping out massive bags. And I think it's because just no one fishes the damn thing because it's just a toilet bowl for Smith Mountain Lake. There's so much crap on it. So, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, floaters will mess you up. I mean, floaters will look like you have a bunch of surface fish and you just have to... A lot of times I've casted towards the leaves and stuff. And I'm like, God dang, it's a leaf. You know, so especially the way like Enzo sets up the forward facing sonar, he likes to see the splash.
I like to see the splash.
And so like it's got it angled down a little bit. And so all of a sudden you see like this mark and you think it's like 5 foot down and really it's on the surface and it's a leaf. So
the first time I ever like experienced that whole like facing it up was I was fishing with McCluskey and he was fishing a spook over a brush pile. And it was like such a crazy thing to actually see your spook on the graph and just see the fish come out of the brush pile. It's just
I don't like it.
I like it.
Why don't you like it?
I don't like it because I like having it right. I don't know. I'm OCD. I want it to be perfect. Like what I'm looking at, and like I can know where I cast to. I don't need to see a splash, even though I kind of see a splash, even though it's right. I can see the bait once it breaks the surface. I don't know. For me, I kind of like it that way. But like for him, like when we went on the boat on Sunday, I'm like, what the hell is this shit? You know? So I changed it up. And like yesterday he had changed back. And so I changed it back to how I like it. But I just don't like it the way he likes it. But hell, he's successful and he did really well. So, you know, can't argue with this.
I want to see the splash.
I don't need to see a splash. I know where I'm casting to and I can see it once it breaks the surface.
Old versus new,
right?
Enzo, Brian. I mean, guys, I don't want to keep you all day, but yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about that I kind of forgot to mention?
Don't go to the res; it sucks. A lot of
exactly.
Fish, a lot of fish kills. Not enough place
go to the Potomac.
The only thing is, I do a lot of rod repairs and custom rods. So, if you need a rod repaired. No task is too small, too big. Just hit me up. You know, and I do custom rods. I haven't built this guy a custom rod yet.
He does some solid repair work.
I fixed his rods, Alex's rods. Chris Brummett, who won both divisions.
I think he won 3, right? Like 3 events
last year. He won a lot of them based on the rods I built them. So I built his rods. I built Greik rods, Rob Greik. I even built McCluskey, a couple rods. So, rod building, I built off the North Fork Composite Blanks, which is Gary Loomis's company. So, like if you're ordering an edge rod, you're basically getting a North Fork Composite Blank because that's his company, and I use those blanks. But that 8.6, that 8, the 7.5, and a bunch of 6s. Everything came off of that Demiki rod that I built, and it's a phenomenal rod. And I can build you one just like it too if you need it. So, you have my deets, so I don't know if you can share it on the text, whatever. But 703-850-7421. Give me a call, and I can fix a rod, build a rod, whatever you need to do.
Hopefully that's not your personal number, so you don't get a shit ton of creeps with it. But now it's out there in the free world.
It is my personal.
Do you have a social media yet?
No, I mean I just have my Facebooks, I guess. I'm old.
He needs an Instagram.
Yeah, he does. So the only way people can contact you is that phone number, correct? And the mail.
And mail. You can snail mail him.
Yeah.
Telegram.
Well, I will put the phone number in the episode description. You guys go check him out. Send him a call, or let's do text message because it is 2025. Go reach out to him. Get one of those rods built. It sounds like everybody in the free world in Virginia has one of his rods. So that would probably be a really, really good deal. Also, guys, you can go check out the Res, the Fountainhead Tournaments. They have a Facebook. You guys can go check it out. They don't have a website. I tried to link that, and I talked to him about that. Apparently, the website's down.
Back up. It's back.
Oh, is it back? It's back. Oh, hell yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, sorry. Never mind. Cool.
Yeah,
well,
then, it was down for like a couple of days, and then. But yeah, it's just fountainheadbassclub.com.
There you go. It's back up. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So I will relink that stuff in the episode description, so you guys can go check that out. Go check out Fountainhead. They have two tournaments a month. So if you'd like to go donate your money to McCluskey or SB or these fine gentlemen here, feel free to do that. If you guys want to go check us out on Patreon, our next fishing tournament starts in mid-April for that. So that's going to be fun. We'll see. Hopefully Hunter does not fish this next one where he catches his stupid mega bag of 400 inches or whatever it was. And we will see you next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.